Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty and I'm here with Sean Martin. Spring in the step this week, Sean, I would think. I mentioned in my colour piece after Motherwell, I felt there was a wee momentum swinger when Hearts got a last-minute goal and the fans get really up for it and the players in the after-match kind of celebration of that victory, 2 away wins in a row, and then into Ferencváros and a very good second half display by Celtic. Got the job done and could have been, the margin of victory could have been more, and some impressive performances by some individual players.
There certainly was. I mean, we kind of spoke about it yesterday with Andy. It was, in fact, me and Andy could have went on for even longer yesterday. There was so much you could pick out from that game, but we kind of spoke about the likes of Jota, obviously, and a wee bit about the midfield and stuff. But I think you said it right there. It's about momentum. It's not faltering again when you get up a wee bit ahead of steam, and I think that's as important as the performances a lot of the time. As much as I do agree, when you think about what Ange's saying, the performances do matter because he's trying to build the identity, the style and stuff. But you've said it more than once that he's got to do it while he's winning, and he is winning now, and He's also winning a game like the Ferencváros game. It could have got edgy. It was a moment of magic, obviously, from Jota to set up Kyogo for it. That was equally a moment of magic. But after that, you're right, there was only one winner, and even with the kind of chance that Ferencváros had that Ralston cleared magnificently. I mean, that could have changed the flow of the game, but regardless, overall, after that Kyogo goal, Celtic were well on top, and it was 2 going on 4 or 5.
I have to say the Kyogo goal, it's a thing of beauty. It's a world-class pass, but the control to set himself up for the slotted finish, which you still have to do, and Kyogo knew in that moment that he had to score that, and he concentrated. That was something else that I was saying about Kyogo. Sometimes he can rush things and all that, but he certainly did the job there. But what a pass from Jota! I mean, absolutely outstanding.
It was just the combination. It's when you see that angle from behind, you see essentially you see what Jota sees, kinda. But he obviously saw it before the rest is. But it was the fact that I kind of touched on it yesterday, and I touched on it in my match ratings. Kyogo, he makes the runs pretty much every time. Yeah. Whether his teammates find them or not is a different matter. Sometimes he gets frustrated because they don't really even appear to look to find them. But on that occasion, even though it was deep in the Celtic half, Kyogo still thought, I'll better get into position here. Jota saw him, played that ball, and the rest is history. So,
and also you saw how frustrated Kyogo was getting when he came 30 yards from his own goal to pick up the ball at one stage in the first half. He wanted a kick of the ball. Basically, that was him saying, "Can I have a kick of the ball?" So But I was also, you talk about momentum. That's 3 wins on the spin. 2 clean sheets. It's a big thing for Celtic. It's a big thing, and it's from small acorns and all that, Sean. That's what I'm talking about now.
No, I get you. I agree with you. Ange obviously says he wouldn't be popping champagne corks, but I will. I think I've spoken before about how important. I wrote an article about it and everything. The consistency of selection at centre back, and I think although there are still a couple of issues tiring out at centre back and defence in general, I don't feel it's a coincidence that the better spells of clean sheets that Celtic have had this season has been when he hasn't chopped and changed the centre backs. I realise sometimes it's not really been up to him; it's been injuries, and earlier in the season it was because he had to play Dane Murray and Stephen Welsh together because Beaton got sent off and there was no other centre backs. But I think it's no coincidence that the kind of better spells of clean sheets have been when the centre backs haven't changed the game to game. Mm-hmm. I think first it was Welsh and Starfelt went through a wee run of playing together, and I think they get 4 clean sheets in 6 or 7 games. And now it's Starfelt and Carter Vickers, and that's them got a couple in a row now. And a couple of, especially Ferencváros game, I know they weren't as attacking as what maybe people thought they were going to be. I think that's a credit to Celtic for the way they played as much as anything else. But nonetheless, they still got a European clean sheet.
Yes, which would have been hard to come by for Celtic in recent past. Now, 2 performances that I was very impressed with, and hence the tagline, "Here comes the Greek." I really liked Giorgos Giakoumakis' contribution when he came on. I look at players, Sean, and I think, is it natural, when they control a football, when they do things? And I really did think the big man impressed. The one thing he probably wasn't impressed with himself was his glancing header, which probably don't know what he tried to do there, but he was disappointed with himself that he didn't score. But everything else was terrific. His layoff, his hold-up play, playing guys in, and even the one he took in the chest and tried the spectacular overhead kick, or bicycle kick. He was unlucky, and that looks to me like a fit player, and he will give Celtic another option in attack. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe feature on Saturday against St Johnstone, because I think Ange might want to get him up to speed fitness-wise as well, give him more game time.
I think he will feature. Whether he features from the start or not, I don't know. But you're right, he gives him another option. But especially where you're right there is that it's not just about the physicality, although that does give them a genuine different option. It's the fact, especially when you play for Celtic, you see the better physical strikers that Celtic have had, the likes of Sutton and Hartson and stuff. It wasn't just about their frame and their physicality. It was about the touch as well. They had to have the technical touch, the awareness of what was round about them and stuff. And obviously, it's too early to be actually comparing those players with Giakoumakis, but just in terms of that is what you want from a physical Celtic striker. And his cameo against Ferencváros, I thought there was definitely glimpses of that type of kind of physical striker play that he can marry it up with the touches. I mentioned yesterday with Andy, he obviously likes to control it in his chest, but it was the fact that he was laying it off or buying a foul. He wasn't just controlling his chest and then wasting it. Again, as a 20-minute camo, you can't read that much into it so far, but I'm definitely intrigued to see what he brings with a bit of a kind of longer time on the pitch, whether that's against St Johnstone from the start or against St Johnstone later on in the game. I suppose we'll see.
But I watched him, Sean, and I understood why he got 26 goals in the Eredivisie last season. On the back of that, I thought, right, okay, now I see what you're bringing to the table. And David Bradley comes in. I think a lot of supporters feel this way, Sean. It's all coming along lovely. There you go. And I get that feeling as well. It's ticking along nicely, and there's various things falling into place, and the manager's getting some kind of settled team, and players are now starting to understand the system a bit better. And yeah, I mean, the proof's in the pudding with the results, isn't it? And that's what I've been banging on about for a while now. Brad McEwen comes in here, Sean, says, Jota on the left, Kyogo on the right, and Big G through the middle. Let's send the Saints to Hades. So, yeah, I mean, that's obviously an option that Ange has at his disposal. A lot of people saying Abada could maybe do with being rested. That's because he's maybe gone off the boil a wee bit. But again, we couch that by saying he's only 20 years of age, and he has hit the ground running, has had a brilliant start. But the great thing about Ange for Saturday is he now has options for Saturday, doesn't he? Which he's not had a lot of times during the season.
I think that comment there is spot on, although I would say it might be... Although Kyogo did play on the right initially when Giakoumakis came on Tuesday, I think it's maybe more likely Jota moves back over to the right. He did against Betis. He was really good against Betis on the right, and he obviously switched there at Pataudry when Giakoumakis came on. Kyogo went wide left, and then Jota ghosted in from the right to score his goal. So, but it's good to have options, as you say. And if he does want to give Abada a rest, because obviously Forrest doesn't seem to be ready yet, so that is the obvious choice to rotate that in a way. Put Kyogo wide, Jota maybe switching to the right, and then Giakoumakis through the middle. And I do think that there is maybe grounds to give Abada a wee rest, because as you say, he is young. He has been playing pretty much every game, twice a week. His stats have been good, but I think you saw when we put together the power rankings of all of our match ratings, he was lower than what a lot of people probably expected him to be. And I think that's just the inherent kind of volatility in playing a young boy every single week. The performances aren't always going to be 7s and 8s. So I don't necessarily hold it against Abada. I think there's been a lack of options while Giakoumakis was getting up to fitness, but now that it has the chance or the option to rotate that, you could see maybe a wee rest for Abada.
Now, the reason I think Giakoumakis might feature is, lots of times after European games, there's a wee kind of lull, but Giakoumakis looked very keen to get involved on on Wednesday. And I think, if he could carry that attitude into the St Johnstone game, if he starts, it'd be a good thing for Celtic, just to freshen it up. And maybe Andy's maybe thinking that way as well. I'm not saying he'll definitely start, but I think he could play a prominent part because, after European results, there's kind of a plateau, and a flattening out, and short after the game when they played Dundee United and they drew, so maybe that's in his mind that he wants to keep that kind of high tempo, and Giakoumakis certainly felt as if he was up for it,
Potentially, I mean, this is where the momentum thing comes back in, because it's after a European game, you don't want the European hangover headlines and all that, do you? I mean, you want to get that win to keep that, just basically keep the momentum going, and getting it after a European win is always a big thing, because there's always more made of it if you don't get it than there is if you get it. But in terms of Giakoumakis against St Johnstone in particular, there is a chance, because they still play 3 at the back or 5 at the back, depending what way you want to look at it. I would still quite like to see Kyogo through the middle, because I like seeing his kind of his busy movements and his intelligent movements against kind of big defenders. I like to see how much it can confuse them, if you want to put it that way. But that's dependent on the service being there for him, as I said as well. But in terms of St Johnstone themselves, they've not really been. I mean, they get a good account of themselves in Europe, obviously, at the start of the season, but their league season's been pretty poor so far. They're 8th. They've lost 2 of their last 3 of their last 6, I think. So it's been a pretty up and down season, although I suppose Celtic can't really talk. But they did lose key players in the transfer window as well when they get beat 3-0 at home to Livingston last weekend. So they'll be wounded after that. They'll be wanting to try and bounce back, especially given that the squad's obviously just coming off a double cup winning season and stuff. So it's still a dangerous opponent. And I think for that reason, he could consider maybe the Giakoumakis option, but ultimately it comes down to the fact that it's a positive that he has the option to begin with now.
Yes, correct. 2 other players impressed me as well. Liam Scales, when he came on, I thought he did terrifically well. And also Mikey Johnson. There was a wee spurt of energy when Mikey Johnson came on, and Mikey Johnson's a player that frustrates the life out of me. David Gillespie comes in here and says, "Be good to see Mikey Johnson starting the left." His cameo was very encouraging. I've watched Mikey Johnson, and at times I just feel that it's not there with him yet. The other night, I would turn around and say, why can't you produce that on a more consistent and regular basis? He'd never be out the team. He gave Celtic another wee G up and a spark when he came on, but it's been too infrequent in Mikey Johnson's Celtic career, and I think that's what's annoying, because you look at it and you think there's definitely ability there, Sean.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you saw it definitely on Tuesday. That's the bit. I know he's been injured and stuff, but that kind of, as much as the technical quality when he was running at people and set up Jota later on and stuff, it was the fact that he clearly wanted to make an impression, and he went about the business right until the last second of the whistle. He was raging that the whistle went at the end. So I was impressed with that. It was only a cameo, but if that's the kind of effort and quality he's going to put in a cameo, then he will get more game time. And that kind of attitude is maybe why the likes of Brendan Rodgers obviously talked him up quite a bit when he was here.
But Scales as well. I like the look of Scales. He played a couple of cameos, but what I've watched of Scales, I've been pretty impressed by, and I like it, and I think the Celtic fans would like to see a bit more of him as well.
Tuesday, I thought he played a couple of decent passes up the line. It was a short spell on the pitch and stuff, same as what it was against was it Wraith, his last appearance. I would say, obviously, there's no point getting carried away with him, because we've simply not seen enough to say either way. But I mean, he did play a couple of decent passes on Tuesday, and he generally kind of looks as if he'll try and take care of the ball, if you know what I mean, when he gets it, rather than just lumping it or whatever. He seems as if he'll maybe buy into what the manager's selling. But it's one of those ones, until he actually gets the game time, there's not a lot to back up calls from him to start that kind of thing in the first place. But certainly the two kind of cameos he's had, he's not done anything to say, oh, well, he looks out his depth here. So, the more he gets the game time, the more that will become clear how his game is going to mesh with a Celtic team.
Anthony Patrick Aitken, 3-5-2. Let's have it, Sean. There you go. Now, another exponent of 3-5-2 is Martin O'Neill, wasn't it? So he had lots of degrees of success at Celtic playing that kind of system. So I guess the optimism comes from the fact that there's now options in Celtic are on a wee bit of an upward trajectory, which is basically what you've hoped for all season. And they're starting to look okay and get results, and that's very, very encouraging.
Aye. on the 3 at the back thing there, not to take it to down a negative route or anything like that, but I do expect St Johnstone to play 3 or 5 at the back, and that's it's been mixed results so far this season when Celtic have faced that. Midtjylland in the second leg played 3 at the back, obviously lost that eventually. Hearts in the league opener done the same, and they both got chances and goals, but in behind the fullbacks with their quick wing play and stuff. But then that said, Hearts also played it the second time Celtic played them, and Celtic, although it was 3-2, it was 3-2 going on 6-2. Celtic essentially scudded them about Parkhead that day. So there is a positive there, and that was the caveat is that at that point, Postecoglou had more time with the team, he had more players available, and they just clicked a wee bit better by that point. So I don't know if necessarily it's something to worry about, but I thought it was worth pointing out. You mentioned Scales. There's obviously ball and goalie to consider as well. He played in the last league game. He just wasn't eligible on Tuesday. Montgomery played all right for the most part. So there's now a decision at left back again for Saturday, you would say.
Yeah, I just like the kind of gallousness now of the Celtic supporters. It's kind of like a couple of good wins, right? Let's do this and that, and and it's a contrast to maybe their mood a few weeks ago. They're starting to see things click into place slowly but surely. And it's the next one. Obviously, is St Johnstone. They just keep winning, Sean. That's all they have to do now, isn't it? Till they get into that rhythm and that winning habit, and then take it from there. Cutting the gap to 4 points now. It's like, yep. They see this as kind of doable now, don't they?
They should have saw it as doable the whole time. For me, it's again, it's that word momentum. It does matter, and we've kind of spoke about it before when there seemed to be a bit just before the transfer window where they clicked. Obviously, then lost a couple of more players, but it is vital that they go on a winning run, not just an unbeaten run, but a winning run. It helps, and I think it, in a way, it kind of almost makes it worse that they have dropped silly points this season. That across the city, they don't look particularly great, Rangers. So far this season. So in that way, you can, depending on whether you're glass half full or glass half empty, it's either oh well, they've not got away, or we should have been ahead. If you know what I mean? But it's certainly a winning run, regardless of what happens across the city. A winning run's absolutely vital for Celtic.
And also as well, I was laughing. I was standing feet away from Ange Postecoglou when he made that comment. I thought the league was over, mate. And I had a wry smile because I think Andy's one of those people, when he calls you mate, you're in trouble. So it's, but he seems to be enjoying it a bit more now, doesn't he? I mean, you can't not enjoy it when you're winning football matches as a Celtic manager, but he's now sort of flexing his wee managerial muscle and just saying things now, and coming out and saying, well, I've been telling you, if you'd listen, this is what I've been trying to do all along. So yeah, I mean, fair play to him, because he has took a bit of stick, but sometimes for his formations and his unwillingness to change and adapt. But he's starting to get football results, and that's the only way you can answer people, isn't it? Critics.
It is, but I mean, even though, I mean, you saw his clean sheet comment the other day, he does obviously wants to win it, but he wants the performance to be in the manner in which he's trained them to do, kind of thing. And I think the goals, I mean, the goals on Tuesday again, both come from his kind of style ingrained in the players there. You play out from the back. I know it was a long ball, but he's not averse to a long ball if it's a good ball, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's playing out from the back rather than lumping it, because there was five Ferencváros players pressing. They could have lumped it, they didn't. They played out. Jota ended up in the free space, and then it was just individual quality from him and Kyogo to finish it. The second goal, I would take it all the way back to Callum McGregor's decision not to just retreat, but to win the ball back on the edge of the area, and then it was him that started that goal, and that comes into the we don't stop thing and all that, the relentless nature and stuff. So I think that pleases him almost as much as in fact, it definitely pleases him more than the clean sheet, but it pleases him just as much as the result, to see it happen in those ways.
The last 4 goals, Sean, to me have been what Ange's all about.
Aye.
The quick winning of the ball back against Motherwell, the quick pass to Jota from Rogic. The build up, we eventually shunted to Turnbull, who's got that in his locker to hit balls from 25 yards. Thing of beauty, first goal from Jota.
Even take it back to the Kyogo chest goal at Pittodrie.
Yep.
Take a quick throw in, because Aberdeen haven't set themselves. Take a quick throw in over, no bother.
Yeah, that's true. That's positive. But I was Yeah, you're right. And on that very positive note, 20 minutes has elapsed. That's been very good. I've enjoyed that. I think Celtic supporters enjoy watching their team at the minute, and it's onwards and upwards to St Johnstone, and we'll see what happens, Sean. Thanks for your contribution. Appreciate it.
Yes,
and remember, if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, and it's £1 a month for the first 2 months, and help support the top quality journalism covering the club you love. Thanks very much.